Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome into our recurring service plan webinar. Love seeing that there's a lot of familiar names in the audience. Welcome back to a couple of you. I know you've gone to one or two training sessions at this point in time, so always good seeing some familiar names in the audience. As always, for those of you who've gone to our webinars before, our live training sessions, we will get started in about the next 2 to 3 minutes. Actually, we have a pretty punctual group today, so we might not need to wait too long just to make sure everyone has a chance to join in from that link in their email. In the meantime, as always, I do want to get a pretty good pulse check for all of you that are participating in this training today and get a better understanding of where you are with recurring service plans or what you might call a maintenance agreement. Sometimes some of you are just getting started the service agreement side, the maintenance plans for your company, while some of you might be already offering these options. So I do want to make sure I give you a little bit of advice on if you're just getting started from scratch, what things you want to look out for, what's proven to work out well for our pros. And then, for those of you who have been offering service agreements, just getting a better understanding of how you're currently tracking them and, what sort of improvements are you looking to make in your current system. Now, since there are a couple of names, before I forget, let me go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Laura. I am the manager of the customer success team here with Core Account. So I lead a lot of these training sessions throughout the week. Perfect. I'm seeing a lot of you starting to answer that poll, so thank you if you've already done so. And then we will go ahead and do a quick audio check, as always, just to make sure that all of you that are participating can hear me loud and clear. So if you can hear me, go ahead and raise that hand icon at the bottom of your screen. You'll see a little bar there with a little raised hand icon. Perfect. Go ahead and just leave hands raised. I just want to double check and make sure that I'm not missing any of you. All right, perfect. And so far, so good. I'll go ahead and throw a quick message in the chat section. And feel free to let me know in that chat section where you're joining in from today, or if you want, we'll focus today on service plans. Let me know what's the biggest goal with service plans for your business. Is it just saving time? Are you starting to get questions from your customers about implementing this? What is your biggest goal for your business? It might even be, hey, I just want 10 service plans by the end of the year. So feel free to share that. Seeing that some of you are joining in from North Carolina, South Florida. I heard North Carolina, I spoke to a pro earlier this morning and let me know there was a hurricane, Category 1 yesterday. So hopefully you're staying safe, Scotty. Also joining in from Arizona. Hey, Dominic, good to see you again. All right, perfect. So I know a lot of you have let me know big goal is just saving time and getting this started for your business. So thank you to those of you that are sharing. All right, so as always, I'm just going to go ahead and pull open my test account. Looks like we have pretty much everyone in here. Now, today we're talking about probably one of the most powerful tools for people in the service industry, and that's recurring service plans. So some of you might not have this tool added to your account just yet. Sometimes I have people that join in and are just looking to learn more about it. So that is completely fine. So today we'll focus on how to set up this tool, how you can set up your plans, what different payment options you can give your customers, and we'll talk about when you make a sale on your service plan, how you can get that activated in Housecall Pro, as well as what reporting options you have, because it's a pretty comprehensive tool. Now, if you haven't activated that tool just yet, just know that it's an add-on to All Plans Grow and Above. And once you start activating your tool, you'll have a little widget that'll show up on your dashboard that'll look like this: recurring service plans. If you're not even seeing this just yet, but you know that you have it as an add-on, then you might want to just go through the My App section, and then you also have the option to click into service plans. So that's how you'll be able to access. I'm just going to go ahead and click directly into the widget. Now, first things first, I do want to give you an overview of what your recurring service plan reporting will look like. So as always, we'll just go top to bottom. In the first section, that comes in pretty handy is your plan summary. Now, this is going to let you know how many plans you have, how much revenue this is bringing in for your business, and then kind of a breakdown of statuses. Do you have any that are going to expire soon, or how many are pending? Now, something that I think is underused, but a pretty useful function of this report is in the top right, you can go ahead and click View All. And this is going to show you all your different service plans, no matter what status they're in. Now, you can think of this as a call list. In the top right-hand side, you have a filter icon. And if you're someone who sets up different tiers, different plan options for your recurring service plans, you'll be able to filter to see, potentially which one's your highest performing option. But out of all these different options here, the most useful, especially for those of you that are getting started, is the status section. Because if I filter for any service plans that are sent, these are great follow-up opportunities. These are customers who I added a service plan to, but they haven't accepted yet. So like I said here, you can go down this list, call these customers, follow up with them, and answer any questions that they might be having towards that service plan. Another one, important one, is a lot of times some pros will come in and say, my customer hasn't accepted, and it turns out that they never actually sent it to the customer. They just had it saved as a draft. So you do want to keep this section relatively clean, anything that's in draft, because those are at this point in time missed opportunities. That customer hasn't gotten a chance to review their plan, accept it, or even ask you any questions. So you want to make sure that you move them from draft and get them to sent. And of course, if you want to see which customers have accepted, you can filter for that, or maybe anyone whose plan is coming to an end date soon. So that's how you can use that report. It's pretty handy. A lot of people don't know that they can filter for this status, so something I want to share with you all today. Now I'm going to go ahead and click back. Now, we all know, a lot of times the reason why people are looking to implement service plans is the recurring revenue side, and that's huge for a business. Now, this report here will give you a little bit more insight on how much recurring revenue you can expect in this current month and the next one. But as you can see here, it kind of has a yearly breakdown so that you can make smarter decisions. December's we get a lot of payments come through. That's when we can go ahead and hire an additional team member. We want you to strategize with the business choices that you're making, and that's where that recurring revenue comes into play. So it's just kind of a little insight into how you're doing with that recurring revenue. Now, if any of you, you kind of have a couple different options when it comes to having your customers pay for their service plan. So if you do end up offering additional options like paying via check, cash, or some other third-party processor, we recently added this section here where you can see who's coming up for billing. So if we're not automatically doing it for you through our credit card processor, then you can see here, okay, Stephen is past due. I should have collected $262 towards his service plan back in May. So I can give him a call and make sure that we collect payment for that. If you have multiple, then you can just go ahead and click View All and see anybody who is due for billing. And that amount is going to vary based on the plan that you put that customer on and their billing cadence, which we'll talk about in a little bit more detail soon enough. Now, we talked about the benefits to the business, recurring revenue, whether you're someone who's looking to sell their business or someone who just wants to get more cash flow coming in through the door. But from a customer side, the biggest benefit of having a service plan with you is peace of mind. That's what we're guaranteeing that customer. And so a lot of times people are hesitant to implement service plans because they can be hard to track, right? How do you plan out a visit 6 months down the road when that customer doesn't even, we don't necessarily know what we're doing next month. So this due for service section will let you know who's coming up next for service. Once you give them a call and you set up a specific date and time, then you can go ahead and schedule them out. So you're able to put a tentative date. I tentatively said that we were going to go out there to service them in July. So it's going to put them in order of who's coming up next. So that way, once it's your slower period, your slower season, if you want to keep the guys busy out there in the field, you can use this as your proactive reach out. We can get ahead of it. And I'll show you at the very end how we would schedule out a visit for a customer when we need to go out there. So just a quick overview of what that section is for. Now, you are able to set up different plans. Some of you that are already offering service agreements, you might already be doing that. So once you start setting up your plans, which is your first step, you'll be able to see that here in the plans we offer section. If you have more than 5 different plan types, you can always go ahead and click See All, and it's going to show you all those different plans that you have created. Now, a little important note here is if you start creating a plan and you haven't attached that to a customer, you can make edits while you're fine tuning. But keep in mind, if you have already added a service plan to a customer, any changes you make are going to apply to new agreements only. All right, so just know if you ever need to change your plan, pricing, or the different payment options you give, you can make that edit. But anybody who had a service plan, with the previous details will stay grandfathered in. Now, the best advice I can give here, and this is coming directly from our pros, I've had a lot of conversations over my years here with pros, and the best advice that a lot of them have said is start off simple. Don't worry about creating 5 different options for your customer to choose from. Start off with one if you are new to service plans, and then go from there. See what options and what benefits resonate with your customers. Another thing I will say here is for sake of reporting, you do want to keep your plans as consolidated as possible. You don't necessarily want to be creating a custom plan for every customer unless it's absolutely necessary. So I know you're seeing a bunch of different plans here. That's just for the sake of testing. Most of our pros who are doing really well with this tool have even just one plan, 1 to 3 plans or different tiers. Right? So just a little bit of a suggestion there. Now, with kind of that overview out of the way, like I said, your first step when you're getting this tool set up will be to create your plans the way that you want them. So you can do that by clicking the plus sign here or plus new plan in the top right-hand corner. And then probably the hardest part is, what do you want to call your plan? I'm just going to go ahead and call it the we'll call it, I have so many. I'm going to go ahead and just say Rushmore Bronze Comfort Plan. Oop, just got a new keyboard if you guys can't tell. I'm struggling with just learning to type on this one. And then from there, once you have your plan name, then you'll want to lay out the description of work. Now, this is really where you want to spend a good portion of your time because you want to go ahead and list out, and actually let me pull out the template here that I'll share with you all. But there is a collection where you can, any of you that are brand new to this tool can use these templates that we have created for you. So I'll share this link at the very end, but here at the bottom, we have different templates depending on what your vertical is. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pull open this bronze plan template, and I'm just gonna go ahead and copy and paste that into the description of work. Now, this might look a little bit different, right? Find what sort of benefits your customers are looking for. Oftentimes, priority scheduling and a 24-hour emergency service, that's something that a lot of our pros offer, and that in itself sells that service agreement. It might be a discount on future, labor repairs or something like that. So you'll lay out your description of work here. The more benefits that you can lay out for your customer, the better. And for those of you who have already been offering service agreements, you can just go ahead and copy and paste whatever you had set up in your agreement. Now, at the bottom, if you ever need to bring attention to something important, this is kind of like the meat and potatoes of your agreement. So you can put, details like this is transferable if you move to a new home within our service area. So top benefits at the bottom, anything important that you want to lay out as part of this agreement. Um, Something our pros will always say is be transparent. Let that customer know what is included as part of their service plan versus what is not, while being really clear about the benefits that are in it for them. Now from here, you'll also get to lay out how many visits are included as part of that service plan. So you can just go ahead and type in a number in there. We're going to go ahead and say this is a basic service plan with 2 visits per year. And then you'll go ahead and lay out the plan duration. Now you have two options. If you're someone who has a really well built out relationship with your customer, they see the benefit, maybe they've been hounding you about getting a service plan, you could put them on a continuous plan where it's going to be ongoing, like a subscription service, and they would just need to let you know if they want to cancel. That's a good option if you have experience with service plans or you'll just like that option. Some of you might like or might want to gravitate towards like a yearly or a 2-year plan with a specific end date. So most of our pros are starting off with 1 to 2-year plans when they're new to this tool. And then from here, if you set up a plan with an end date, you will want to lay out what the total cost for that plan is. So if it's a 2-year plan, I'm putting the total price for both years. So I'm going to go ahead and say this plan is $299. Now the fun part, this is where you can really leverage the different options for payment. So you have these 5 different options to choose from. You are more than welcome to allow your customer to choose every single, one of these 5. But if you're not partial to that quarterly option, you can toggle that option off or every year. Options are the most powerful thing that you can give your customers. Customers want to be able to pay the way that is convenient for them. And that'll remove a lot of the friction when you're having those conversations with customers. Now, a little bit of a fun fact here is out of all the customers that have ever accepted a service plan in Housecall Pro, we have found that 76% of customers are choosing the monthly option. And again, that goes back to my point earlier of people are really familiar with subscription-based services, Netflix, Amazon Prime, my cable, it's all subscription, even your Housecall Pro account. So that option does resonate with a lot of customers. If you are someone who prefers to get that payment up front, that doesn't mean you can't give that option still. What a lot of our pros will do if they have a preference for upfront, they'll offer a discount. So to incentivize that customer to choose this one-time upfront option, you can add, for example, a discount of 5%. All right. Now, if you want to give different, if you were to not check this box here on the far right-hand side, then your customer will only have the option to put a card on file that'll get processed through Housecall Pro, the same way that you would process a credit card payment for a job. But if you do want to allow your customers to pay via cash, check, or other, you will want to check this box. Another suggestion here is if you are going to give the monthly option to your customers, you might want to toggle the payable by cash, check, or other, because then it's going to become a little bit more of a hassle to mail in that check monthly or, to follow up with that customer. If you are thinking of that monthly option, it looks like some of you mentioned that, we recommend enabling the Housecall Pro credit card payment. So I'm going to go ahead and lay it out this way. And once you feel good about the description, your payment options, that's when you can go ahead and click Create Plan. Now I'm going to go ahead and exit out of my widget, but once you've created your plans and you're having those conversations with the customer, let's talk about what the workflow would look like if we need to attach a plan to a customer. So I'm going to go ahead and go into my customer database here. And let's say that we had a really good conversation with our customer, Gary, on the phone. Now, once I pull up his profile from my customer database, you'll see that here in the top right, you have the option to add a service plan to their account. So all you need to do is click plus service plan. Here, you'll search for the plan that you're looking to add. So I have a bunch, and we're going to go with the one that we created today, the Rushmore Bronze Comfort Plan. You will set a start date for that plan. So keep in mind, if that customer says, potentially they want to do that monthly option, but they say, hey, can I have my billing date be the 7th of the month? Then you can set up the start date as a future date. For those of you who already have service plans that, and you might have some customers who are mid-contract, just know that you can also make that start date in the past. So if it's a customer mid-contract, they accepted 6 months ago, just make that start date in the past. That end date is going to automatically populate based on how long that service plan is going on for. So if you remember, we set it up as a 2-year plan, so that end date is automatically in there. And then from here, you'll want to set up your tentative date. When do you think you'll want to go back out there to this customer's home? So usually that's around your slower seasons, right? So I might say, okay, we'll go out in October, maybe again back in March, and so forth. So for all their different visits, you'll assign a tentative date. And again, if this happens to be a customer who is mid-contract, you've already completed some visits for them, you can mark that visit as completed, right? So just know that's an option. I'm going to go ahead and say we've only completed 1 and everything else, we still have 3 visits pending. At the very bottom, just depending on your customer's personality and your preferences for payment, you have 2 different options for accepting a plan. So send plan to customer to accept. That's going to be a better option if you have a customer who will check their email and who you want them and who you would want them to put a card on file for automatic billing through Housecall Pro. So when they want to put a card on file, they can do that via the email. Accept plan for customer, this is going to be a better option for any of you who have customers who don't necessarily check their email. They might be a little bit on the older side, a little bit more old school, or someone who is willing to give you that credit card information or that payment, like cash check. They're not necessarily putting a card on file. So that's when accept plan for customer is better. If this is a customer who has already paid for their plan, they're mid-contract, you can also mark it as paid. And if you want to, you can add taxes to their service plan. So for today, I'm going to go ahead and say I am accepting that plan for that customer. And keep in mind, if that customer maybe you're waiting for them to confirm with you, maybe they were between your silver and bronze plan, you can save it as a draft if you're not ready, if you don't fully have it set up. So you will have that save option to save it as a draft. If you're ready to go, it looks good, you'll go ahead and click next. You'll get a chance to preview the service plan. Just make sure all information is in there. And then you will go ahead and click finish and pay. Now, as soon as you click finish and pay, because I did select the accept plan for customer option, it is now going to prompt me to put a payment method on there. So I'm seeing every month, 6 months, one-time payment. Maybe my customer Gary likes that 6-month option. And then again, because I checked that box payable by cash, check, or other, I'm seeing the option to register a credit card, cash, check, or other. So in this situation, let's say Gary is someone who wants to pay via check every 6 months. So I'm going to go ahead, I can put a payment note in there, first check, and mark it as paid. Right. Now, I did get a question here about what does it look like if a customer were to accept a plan via the email. So I actually have an example here. If you were to email it out to the customer, they'll get an email with a link. That link will take them to their plan where they'll get a chance to verify what's included, and then they'll get to choose their billing frequency from their side. It'll prompt them to create an account as a customer. And this is just going to allow them to have a little bit more autonomy. So if they want to reference when their next visits are happening or what's included as part of their service plan, they can log in there and view that plan. And then at the bottom, before they can accept the plan, they'll have to choose their billing frequency, put a card on file, and then they'll go ahead and confirm that plan. What's pretty nice is it lets them know here, by confirming this plan, you are agreeing to an automatic charge. So they know that it is a subscription plan, essentially, for their maintenance agreement. So this is what it would look like from the customer standpoint if you were to send it out to them. All right, now going back here, this is the details page of the service plan. You can come back in here as needed. So if you need to check when their next visit's coming up, that's in March 2021, then I can reference their maintenance schedule. And if this customer were to ever call me and ask, hey, just wondering when should I mail you out that check, I can let them know their next billing date isn't until, the 6th of January, or I can come in here to mark it as paid. And at the bottom, you'll have a service plan activity just so you can verify all the different changes that are happening as part of this service plan. What's pretty cool is by popular request, a lot of our pros let us know, as part of a maintenance, you need to track equipment. So just know that you can keep track and create a property profile for the equipment that you are servicing as part of that maintenance plan. So that is a new option in there. One other thing to keep in mind is if it is an active service plan, you can edit the tentative date. Maybe March is no longer a good time for you to go back out there. You can edit the tentative dates. If it were a draft, then you'll be able to edit a little bit more, like the payment cadence or the plan type. And if needed, this is where you would go to cancel out a service plan. So if that customer moves, they're going to be outside of your service area, this is where you could cancel it if needed. But hopefully that won't be the case. And just to refresh how we got here, we clicked into customers, we pulled up Gary, we click service plan, and then here at the bottom underneath the address is where you'll see the status of that service plan. Is it active? Is it a draft? Is it expired? And then if you click in there, that's how we get to this details page. So I'm going to go ahead and exit out of here. It's pretty straightforward. A lot of it comes down to just creating your service plans themselves. Now, I'm going to go ahead and go back into the report. And the last thing that I'll show you today is how to schedule out someone's next visit. So let's say it's time for me to start calling customers. My customer, Alana, should have had a service back in July. So once we coordinate a time, I can go ahead and then click schedule. And this is where the foundations are really important. Once you feel confident with scheduling, a lot of it ties together. You can see here that this is now created an invoice. And by default, it's going to create the item name as the visit number. So this is visit number 1 for Alana. You're always welcome to add more details. Maybe she's a gold plan maintenance member. So I can add that detail in there for whoever goes out there. And then I can add additional descriptions, collect $74.75 for 6 months, or this is already paid for, anything like that. That visit is going to show at a price of 0 because they might be on a different cadence, right? You might go out there 6 months to service their unit, but this customer might be paying monthly. And once you know when you're going out there, simple, you'll click schedule. Let's say Alana wants us to go out there Friday afternoon. I can choose to confirm with the customer that we're going out there. I can choose who I want to dispatch, like I could on any regular job. And I can also set up an arrival window. So this should all look pretty familiar for most of you who have been going into the system and already scheduling. Now, if it just so happens, your technician will go out there, run this through the mobile app, they can click on my way and so forth. But if it happens that there's a certain part that needs to be replaced or something that needs to be added on that's not included in the service plan, you can always add additional items. Let's say that her filter replacement isn't free, it's $65. I can go ahead and add that in there. since that's not included, let's say, as part of Alana's service plan. Now, one other suggestion that I have for you, like I said, the more that you can present this as a benefit to your customer, the better. So visually, maybe Alana doesn't get a filter replacement for free, but instead of just giving her the last and final price here, use the discount function. You can do something like gold plan maintenance package discount. And then say that, you know, maybe she gets 15% off, not 100, 15% off for being a gold plan member. This helps visually let the customer know, right? Rather than seeing it as I'm paying for something that should be free as part of my maintenance plan, it's I'm saving money on that. And visually at the time that you invoice out for that difference, right? They'll be able to see that here in the bottom right-hand corner. So just a little trick I learned from a pro of, you know, just visually it helps to present those benefits as much as we can, and then we can send it out. So everything else should look pretty familiar. If there's an add-on, you can document a payment as usual. Otherwise, this is just to keep track of that visit that you're going out there for. So scheduling a visit, pretty simple, same as scheduling out any other job that you would create in Housecall Pro. And the last thing, as more of you start creating your plans, one other thing that you might consider doing is in your widget, in your recurring service plan widget, top right-hand side, you have the option to set an automatic renewal email. This comes in pretty handy for those of you who will allow your customers to put a card on file, because this will send them a reminder that their service plan is coming to an end. Now, what I recommend is set up maybe a reminder 60 to 30 days before, and then send a second follow-up in case that customer misses the first email, maybe 7 to 3 days prior. You will also have the option of sending that automatic renewal email to customers who have notifications turned off, because you know, their service plan might take a little bit more importance over that. So just know that you do have that option in here to add that automatic renewal email. Now, last kind of parting points here before we dive into Q&A is, you know, couple of suggestions for our pros who are doing really well with this tool, you know, talking about $900 minimum of recurring revenue every month. These pros are creating a script for whoever is the first point of contact in the office. And it's as simple as saying something like, hey, you know, thanks for calling in today. Are you a gold, you know, are you part of our gold plan, comfort plan? Right away, you're planting that bug in that customer's head of like, no, what's that gold plan? I want to be a part of that. So definitely create a script for whoever is your main scheduler, main dispatcher, whoever has that first point of contact with the customer. A lot of our pros find that 4 out of their 5 sales are happening even before they make it out to that customer's home. The technician is more of a follow-up. So come up with a script, work on it, repeat it up until it sounds natural and you kind of have that pitch, right? And it's a natural conversation. You know, it's a lot of customers understand the benefit. It's just about initiating that conversation. And the second most important tip that we got from our pros is make sure that you create an incentives program. If you are going to have technicians sell this out there in the field, create an incentives program. You know, is it $5, a $10 commission when you sell a service plan? I've seen people offer, you know, Starbucks gift card or like employee of the month. Find what incentivizes your team so they follow up that conversation that you had when you first spoke to that customer. Right? And like I said, when it comes to setting up your plans, keep it simple. Start off with one plan, especially if you're brand new to this. For those of you who have been offering service plans and you're coming from different software, my best suggestion is start off slow. Start off with any customers that are whose plans are expiring in the next month or so, and get those customers in Housecall Pro and then work backwards. So just a couple of last parting points in terms of suggestions and things that have worked really well. So with that, I'll go ahead and stop right there. And like I mentioned, as always, I want to share with you the resources that you have available. So Help Center, I showed you earlier, but a little bit too quickly. We have the recurring service plan collection. And this kind of breaks down everything. If you ever need to watch this training, I have an on-demand version that you can watch anytime, pause and play. We have how to maintain your visits, how to use it, how to utilize that dashboard, how to deal with renewals. And then there is also this pretty great training on the mobile side. What does this look like for your technicians on the mobile end? And those templates, for any of you that are brand new, check out those templates or check out our Facebook group. A lot of our pros have, gone in there and said, hey, I'm offering service plans for the first time. What benefits are you guys offering? At the end of the day, it's better to get that advice directly from the people who have been successful in selling these plans. So I just went ahead and linked that collection in there in the chat box. And otherwise, we'll go ahead and stop right there for questions. Okay, and let's see here. Let me scroll up because I saw a couple come through as we were going through this today. There is one of these questions is from Joe. Do we have any templates for electrical service? So yes, one of those is, it's the third one down. Electrical is in there. I believe it's just one plan example, but there are a lot in our Facebook group. I've seen at least 3 posts with pros giving more information about how to set up electrical service plans. Another question that I got here is, for my technicians, I'm hoping they'll be the ones that are selling the service plan. What does that look like from the mobile side? Yeah, and here, let me go ahead and minimize this. But when you have an employee going out there to a customer's home, if they're checking out on a service plan for the first time, you'll see that option at the time that you click pay. You'll see this option here, plus service plan. And then your technician will have the ability to walk through, if you have multiple options, they can talk about that. Read more allows your technician to see what's included in that plan so they can speak to the benefits. And if that customer says, you know what, I like that gold plan, all your technician needs to do is click buy, set that start date, same as we did here in the web portal. I'm just going to set it for today to keep it simple. And then based off the billing options that are part of that plan, right, they'll talk it through the customer. Are you looking to pay every month, every 6, one time up front, and then go from there? What's pretty nice is that it'll break it down here of what's the payment for the service plan if this was a job. And then when you click next, you'll have the ability to mark it as paid. Now, let's say that we're taking check. There will be that tipping option here. I'm just going to go ahead and say no tip today. And then when it comes to signing off for the service plan, rather than doing it through that button that I showed earlier, the confirm plan, instead the customer here will register a signature. It's going to let them know how much they're paying, $310 every 6 months. They'll have an ability to put an email there for their receipt. And then when they click confirm plan and play, same thing as here. It's just they're agreeing to that recurring charge. So at that point, you can go ahead and click confirm and pay. So that's what it looks like. Now, if this were to be a customer that is getting that already has a plan, right? This is visit number 1. Here at the very bottom, this is where it's going to let me know that what service plan this customer is on. It lets my technician know it is active. And then if they go in there, they can see the details of what's included. So inspection, 10% discount. So this is visually how your technicians will be able to know if that customer is already on an active plan and what's included for those plans. Let's see here. One question from Dominic was, can you apply credit to a customer's account? Example, you offer a 25 referral to a customer for referring a friend. Yeah, and that's great. What you could do, there's no referral system built out just yet, but Dominic, what our pros will do is if a customer ends up calling in and they say, hey, my friend Mary referred me to you guys, they mentioned that you guys have a really great maintenance agreement. What I would recommend doing is I would go into that customer that referred that newer customer, and then I would go ahead and add a tag in their profile, a customer tag that maybe says maintenance referral credit. whatever keyword you want to keep track of. And this way, you know that next time they have a service with you, you can apply that $25. So you can keep track of it of customer notes or customer tags. There is no system built out that just yet. I think that would be a great feature for us to have. But for the meantime, most of our pros will add a tag and a customer note so that they can keep track of the fact that this customer gets a credit or a referral bonus next time they call in. So I would just use customer tags. That's the best thing that I can advise there. But that is another really great point, Dominic. A lot of our pros, we had a recurring service plan training with a bunch of our pros joining in. And that's one of the tips and tricks that they said, print out some cards, give them to customers so that they're incentivized. You know, anybody who already has a maintenance plan, get them to refer their friends. And then they get a little bit of an incentive themselves. So Dominic, let me know if that makes sense. I know it's a little bit manual right now, but what I would also recommend is chatting in. If you chat in that feedback, I can do it on your behalf as well, but sending that in as a pro vote, because I know towards the later end of this year, we're going to collect a lot of that feedback to make future adjustments on this service plan tool. So it'll be a big project for us to revamp it and keep improving it. Otherwise, I think those are all the questions that I got in here today. I think a lot of those we answered as we were going. So I'll just go ahead and launch a quick poll to get your feedback on today's training. As always, we want to make sure they're useful. We're learning good stuff in there. And like I said, don't hesitate to go into that Facebook group. For this tool, it can really be beneficial for your business, but I know it can be kind of scary and kind of daunting. So just know that you have that on-demand webinar for future references in that Facebook group for other advice and tips and tricks. Otherwise, thank you everyone for joining in today. Have a great Tuesday. Good seeing some of you back in here today. Appreciate all the questions. Bye-bye.